Is The Last Jedi the last straw? Let's find out. Hello Fanatics, I'm Dylan Phillips and this is the Film Fanatic Review bringing you Star Wars The Last Jedi starring Daisy Ridley, John Boyega, and Adam Driver. First, we'll tell you what the movie is about and our initial thoughts. Then we'll move on to our spoiler-free likes and dislikes. We'll finish up with some spoiler-heavy thoughts on this film and our final word. Star Wars The Last Jedi follows the story of the Resistance, who try to survive the ongoing assault of the First Order, while Rey discovers the location of Jedi Master Luke Skywalker. Alright, so I went and saw this movie twice just to be sure of my thoughts, so here we go. Overall, I thought this was a good, entertaining film. It isn't the Star Wars film that we've come to expect, but do we really want the same thing done over and over again? For what I liked about this film, let's start off with the performances. The film had a ton of phenomenal performances across the board, but the standouts to me were Mark Hamill, Carrie Fisher, Oscar Isaac, and Adam Driver. And that plays into the writing these characters got in this film. A lot of these characters were in a supporting role for The Force Awakens, taking a back seat to Rey and Finn. While those two are the backbone of this trilogy, the other characters, in particular Poe and Kylo Ren, needed some deeper development to make them complex and flawed characters, which this film does beautifully. And I have to mention that the Porgs are a fun addition, definitely not like the Ewoks. They may be Disney's way to add a sellable toy to this episode like BB-8 was for episode 7, but I found them entertaining and they really added something to Chewie's subplot. Beyond the characters, the writing of this film is superb. Rian Johnson puts his own spin on Star Wars, and it's no wonder that they've gifted him another trilogy in this universe. He was able to add some comedic moments without going over the top, while layering in some thoughtful themes that add to the mythos of the Jedi. In turn, this script feels a lot more original than the prequels or The Force Awakens, because it took more risks rather than revert to fan service and staying within the guidelines of the original trilogy. The battle sequences in this movie are by far some of the best of the franchise, as each character gets to show off their particular set of skills. And the ambiguous ending helps in setting up a very unpredictable finale to this trilogy, which to me is very exciting. However, it feels as if Rian Johnson went into this film thinking that it was the first of his own trilogy, and so a lot of the characters that were introduced in The Force Awakens took a backseat in this one. While he does develop some characters, others are shafted or completely forgotten by Johnson. And the story does drag a little in the middle as it jumps from subplot to subplot without really going anywhere. And that's where I'll end our spoiler-free thoughts on this film. If you want to hear our final word or rating of this film, pause now and click the link in the description, because now it's time for spoilers. So there's a lot to talk about here. Let's get started. I love the nuanced themes that Johnson adds to this film about the idea of a hero and a legend and how that plays into the struggles that Luke has dealt with. Many people complained about the depiction of Luke in this film, but after a second viewing it was easier to see how his past 30 years have influenced who he has become. Beyond Luke, the other two characters that have great stories in this film are Poe and Kylo Ren. Poe really came into his own in this film, as he shows great leadership in times of adversity. Oh, and he's still a badass pilot. Meanwhile, I think Kylo was the most interesting character in this film. You really start to understand his struggles with the light and dark sides of the Force, rather than the other characters just telling us. You see what pushed him away, and how he hasn't come to terms with it. I'm very excited to see where they take him in the finale. However, as I said, a lot of characters are underused or glossed over in this film. It felt like Johnson wasn't a fan of Snoke or Phasma and decided to get rid of them, while also throwing in some lines for Maz. With a part that short, I would have preferred a cameo by Lando, who helps them find a Master Codebreaker. Speaking of that, I think that the Master Codebreaker subplot was really a waste of time in this film, and a waste of the character of Finn. Yes, it was supposed to set up the introduction of Rose and even this apparent romance between Finn and Rose, but through watching that story, it felt more like it was a mutual respect of camaraderie between these two characters rather than anything romantic. And I feel like the only real reason that they took them to this weird alien casino planet was to have the ambiguous ending. I absolutely hated that they made General Hux into this moronic comedic punching bag. He just seems to take everything and dish out nothing, and he just acts completely over the top like a buffoon. And I just don't understand how someone like that could have even gotten any officer position, let alone the top one. And I don't understand why Holdo had to keep the plan away from Poe. Yes, he was demoted, but that doesn't mean that she can't give him the information. It isn't like he's gonna go and give it to the First Order. So why not do that and stop pissing off your crew members? And what was up with that Super Leia scene? The floating through space was super weird and it just looked so unnatural. It's interesting to see how many opportunities they had to kill off Leia in this film, but didn't because the martyr for this one was Luke, and they couldn't kill off two of them. I think the best send-off for Leia would have been taking Holdo's place and letting Laura Dern's character develop in the finale. And the best scenes to me were the training scenes on the island, the Ben and Rey scenes, the opening space fight, the throne room fight sequence, the battle on the planet's surface where Luke goes total Jedi badass, and the best scene, in my opinion, when Holdo goes into hyperspace and cuts through the entire First Order fleet. So, with the thoughts heard, here's our final word. Star Wars The Last Jedi is a deeply layered and thought-provoking addition to the Star Wars saga. While it's no Empire Strikes Back, the story development, action, risks, and themes pay off in an excellent and emotional penultimate episode to this fantastic franchise. This film has divided the fans on many topics, but when it comes down to it, it is a very enjoyable film. So I'm going to give Star Wars The Last Jedi an 8.5. Thanks everyone for watching our review. Are you planning on seeing Star Wars The Last Jedi? Or if you've already seen it, do you have something to add? Where does this film rank on your list of the Star Wars universe? Let us know in the comments below, and watch out for our upcoming video where we tell you where it ranks on ours. I'm Dylan Phillips, and this has been the Film Fanatic Review. If you like this video and you want to see more, hit that like button and subscribe to our channel. Check out our latest Fanatic 5 video where we discuss the top Jon Bernthal roles. Don't forget to follow us on our social media. And until next time, Fanatics, keep it real.